Hello and welcome to a Medstartr Salon Live. We've got with us a bunch of amazing people who know a lot about the topic today. The topic today is Greg Masters, tips and tricks on how to use social media these days. I don't know exactly what the title is, but it's something like that. And who I have with me are some pretty amazing people who know about these things. So let's get this thing started. Alexa, turn off the music because let's get to this. So, Greg Masters, and we're going to go around 30 seconds, just introduce who you are and why you are a social media expert user, wannabe expert user, things like that. I'm Alex Fair. I run Medstartr Ventures in this community we call Medstartr. And it's all about trying to drive healthcare forward faster. We believe strongly that the crowd knows a lot more than I do, he does, they do. But all together, we actually know a lot. We've been running a venture fund to support our mission, which is trying to help healthcare evolve, transform, revolutionize, whatever you want to call it, change, okay, for the better. Okay. And we know that this is very much needed. We all know it now, right? And we're not going to get into that today. Today is December 5th, 2024. And I'm just really honored that these amazing people are here. And I want to learn from them. And maybe I can teach a few things, not many, but I'll try. One of my favorite, the guy who taught me how to use social media, Twitter when it was still Twitter, Two Health Guru, Greg Masters, MPH now. That's a long story. And he could talk about that a little bit. But yes, Greg is the first one that I said, yes, please. And then Mike Mann over here also has done great in the space, also with us on Clubhouse. Amazing voice and good brain too.
Nice haircut.
Anyway, yes, Sabrina, Ed Buckstella, I've known for 30 years. David, and the amazing Roland De Silva is here. So, did I miss anybody? Joe Desidrio. How could I forget Joe? Joe, partnership man. Anyway, so, Greg, why don't you take your first 30 seconds, tell us who you are, and let's just go around. We'll do that.
Greg Masters, San Diego, been involved in social media since 2007 when Twitter pre-hockey stick was rolling out, and made that my water cooler of sort. And I've been there ever since, and I'm teetering on the brink of leaving at this point. And I'd like to talk maybe about anybody who's forayed into Blue Sky, what that experience has been like. But yeah, I'm into digital media. I create content, curate it, video, audio, written, doing less writing these days, but I'm reactivating, leveraging Chat GPT, the lazy person's way to blog. And yeah, I look forward to sharing what I know and hearing from others.
Yeah, let this be a warning to the rest of you. If you leave out critical stuff, I'm going to do this. You left out recovering managed care executive and MPH, and your Twitter handle. So anyway, yes, those are all him. Twitter handle is GreggMasters, I believe. MPH. Is that right, Greg?
That's correct.
Also my mentor for social media. Michael, since you're the second person I invited to do this, please tell us about you.
Yeah, I'm Michael Mann. I'm from Virginia Beach. I feel like I'm connected to a lot of you guys because I lived in San Diego for 10 years. Now I live very close to Norfolk. No, I'm not former Navy or Navy SEAL. I just have a shaved head. But anyway, everyone thinks that when they I connected with Alex on Clubhouse, and he's like, dude, you got a voice for radio. You should do moderating. So it was really exciting, off to the races. And I've had almost 2.5+ years of podcast, created my own podcast, Planetary Health First, Mars Next. We go to conferences, doing more media, newsletter, writing, just trying to figure it out. And I think the biggest thing is just curiosity, natural curiosity, interest in this space, creating content, trying to less of me and more of everyone else, really elevating, trying to work on it. And so I'm really really excited to be here. So anyway, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Alex, and look forward to getting to know you, all of you better. And so anyway.
And you really also exemplify what I think of as the geek to freak to hero way, right? So you knew something really deeply, you had good knowledge, and you said, I want to do something different. And what I love is helping people on that path. And a lot of you do, because I know you guys do it too, because it's hard, following outside the lines, right? So doing this stuff. It's like people, I've been doing it most of my life. It's hard. So it's really gratifying to me to see what's happening with planetary health, Mars First. And you've done a great job of that in the last year or two. And well done. Next, ladies first, Sabrina. You're on mute, Sabrina.
Right, if I can actually find the
And now,
microphone.
incidentally, that's a good segue to, hey, we're recording this and other people are going to watch this. So Greg can edit that out maybe, but maybe not because it's kind of funny. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Sabrina Roundback, recovered clinician in cardiothoracic surgery. Pivoted into speaking and helping startups to advance their mission because I believe in amplification in the right way of foundation and collaboration and getting away from the grind culture. We just have to simply do more to produce more. That's not impact. Impact is across the board. Impact is just not measured by numeric data point. And very passionate about elevating women-led companies. I recently had a TEDx talk on the 3% problem in ventures. And for me, it's really not a gender issue. It's really about how do we leverage the right resources to create that empowered ecosystem. We are doing something exciting. Actually, an opportunity landed in my lab. We are actively putting different healthcare TV, radio podcasters together in a network called Healthcare Amplify. And part of my business of a board advisor to help these groups to scale up is actually having a game show launching in January where we become that 1 hour accelerator of Shark Tank versus Apprentice. So we're gonna have Alex gonna be one of our judges too, and definitely invite anybody else who is that investor expert who wanted to be a judge, and then refer clients to be with us. Because at the end of the day, what I believe is we have to have these foundation of people looking at different perspective. It's never just a marketing issue. It's never just a branding issue, and it's never just a people issue. And unless we have that holistic perspective, we're missing out on some level of capital. So yeah, that's the fun way of podcasting speaking.
If somebody's watching, how do they find you? Is it Pulse Point Health?
I'm very active on social media for LinkedIn. Majority of my time have weekly newsletters coming out in there. So that's where you can find me the most. And then check out Pulse Point Path. That's where all the fun activities are hosted.
Yeah, I really need to. Roland, you remember, and Michael, you remember all of the tricks we had for Clubhouse moderation? Like when somebody's like starting to you had 30 seconds, now you're like 2.5 minutes. You start to this and things like that. So I forgot that not everybody was trained on that. So thank you, Sabrina. And I'm not chastising you for going, on too long. But the whole idea is just so people get a flavor for you, they can find you later, and that's it. So anyway. Show them how it's done, Roland.
Sorry, I didn't realize you had asked me. Hi, Alex. Hi, everybody. Roland De Silva, based in London, United Kingdom. I work with startups and corporates, advising them on their strategy, go-to-market, and fundraising. Currently working with a couple of startups in the healthcare space. And given that I heard that the great Michael Mann was here with Alex Fair doing something on social media, I thought this is my opportunity to learn because I definitely am a basic learner when it comes to social media. Because all I've understood social media as is something where people scroll endlessly and not deliver meaningful messages. So back to you.
Awesome, Roland. Always great seeing you. Who's next? Alphabetical. We got Ed, Joe, and Dave. So I guess that means Dave next.
Cool. I'll go.
Oh man, you messed up my tic-tac-toe. We had like tic-tac-toe 3 bald guys in a row before.
Oh my God. Well, I have a bald spot.
No. So on my screen it's me, Ed, Roland. So I guess we still have one tic-tac-toe. Okay, I'm sorry,
I'll
David.
be
Go
I'll
on.
be there. I'll be there soon, Alex. I'll be there soon. I promise. I'm
No,
feeling
you're
you
never
already.
getting there. You're never gonna be because you could.
Sorry, I'm all full of sand. I was just on the beach. So my name is David. I'm actually a recovering addict. Since we're all talking about recovery, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started coding at 8, something like that. Sold 2 companies early on in my life. Did very well. Never used social media because I kind of always flew under the radar. Until my last company in recovery, which was a platform that was helping digitize and kind of bring actual AI and machine learning back before all the ChatGPT stuff, because that's been my jam forever, into the healthcare space and just kind of make the whole patient experience more beautiful. We just sold the IP for that. That's now going to become an open source platform, and I'm now working on preventive health, which is now kind of going upstream into preventing addiction to begin with. I think I met all of you in Clubhouse. It's so cool to do this. It's nice to have a face to the thing, to the talk. But awesome, nice to meet you, everybody, and yeah, excited for this because I've never really used social media. I didn't have a CV until my last company. Just that's how off the radar I was forever.
That's a good thing, David. If you never had to do a CV in your life, then you did something right.
I guess maybe that's what my chairman was telling me, but it was pretty embarrassing that they're like, yeah, send your CV for this thing. I'm like, oh shit, I actually don't have one. So yeah, anyway, super excited to learn. I'm a continual learner in life, so happy to learn from all of you.
Me too, Dave. Buxtel.
Yeah, basically been involved in digital health for a very long time. Know Alex from way back when. Twitter handle Buxtel, Bukstel, and just always learning, and currently doing a digital health application at the intersection of legal technology, and it's kind of interesting.
It's very interesting. That leaves you, Joe Desidrio.
Hello, Joe Desiderio. In my third, that's okay. It's one of these days. One of us will get it
No,
right.
Greg knew how to pronounce it. I said, no, I think it's different, but Greg was right.
No biggie. Yeah, so I'm in my third act. Every 18 years or so, I have a meltdown and quit what I'm doing and start something new. So I'm on my third one of those, hopefully my last one. Let's see. Corporate IT guy turned health tech founder, deep dive in speech recognition, surgical pathology workflow, a bunch of other stuff, cancer reporting, structured data for cancer, a bunch of stuff like that. The things I'm passionate about now involve strategic alliance management. I did a good stretch in that. Been involved with a bunch of great people in the strategic alliances world. And then I touch on a bunch of other stuff that interests me, including some social impact pro bono work I do for people in all kinds of things, food for kids and STEM and STEAM. And I'm on the board of the Hit Like a Girl podcast. So I'm a behind the scenes guy in the social media world, and more just using social media, primarily LinkedIn, for connecting the dots between a lot of these things. Dabble a little in Twitter when it's, convenient. It's less and less, and a little bit in Instagram because I've been poking at art in healthcare, and there's a lot of art folks in Instagram. That's their main platform, as opposed to LinkedIn, which is kind of a pain in the ass because I'm on now at least 3 platforms, and that's a whole topic. Anyway, thanks for having me.
So yeah, no, that gets right into sort of the beginning of what I think we should talk about today. So this will be a little 101 type stuff, but there's also some graduate level stuff too that I think we should, go through one and on to the other. So back in the day, Greg and I would collaborate and we'd do social media campaigns for the challenges we ran. We're about to run another challenge. So this is time for us to, start thinking about this kind of stuff again and sharpen the saw, right? Figure out what works really well and what doesn't, right? Because these crowds behind me, this is what we expect. Millions of people to come to the websites, come to the events and things like that. And we've done it before, as most of you have been part and parcel of. And we want to hear what everybody has to say. So to us, crowds are an essential part of what we do. So that's what my interest here. So I'm no expert, but I do know these guys are experts in some of these areas. But let's do this collectively, crowd wisdom and all that. So, but I would lean on Dr. Masters over here. He's not Dr. Masters, but doctor of social media to me, a guru, if you will. So Greg, you want to kick us off on tools, and then what's changed, and maybe your gestalt on social media, how to get people to pay attention to stuff?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, but I'll take a stab. Uh, I think obviously for me, the biggest change has been Elon Musk decimating Twitter. Yeah, that because I had staked.
Well, has that happened? Has it been decimated? Meaning it's down to what, 1 in 10 of the original users? The activity or the stats down? So it's a very good first question. Is Twitter dead, or X, or whatever the fuck?
Well, it depends on whose copy you're reading. If you read Elon, everything's doing well, but the number of active daily users is declining. There's an alternative out there now as Blue Sky, and then there's Threads on Facebook. You know, anyway, I put a stake in the ground on Twitter. I felt Twitter was going to be just like it was for journalists and celebrities. It was going to be the digital go-to global public square, and it became that way. And businesses were built around it, including the hashtags project that Simpler launched, and it became the registrar of disease-specific conferences, you name it. There were billions of impressions that were generated on Twitter through this community of thousands of rare disease
No, it
diagnostics.
used to be amazing. You put in a hashtag like lupus chat
Yeah,
or
or like
diabetes.
like JP
Does that
Morgan.
still? I mean, that's the real question here. I see that. So I'm looking up the stats as you're talking. It looks like user engagement is down 40%
On Twitter.
since last time this year.
Yeah,
And if you look,
right.
Statistically over the last, since Elon bought it, and yeah, so 2015,
44
well below
billion,
the
and
2015
Fidelity
level.
valued it at 15. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you look at that metric, he has not created value, he's destroyed value, and users are exiting and people are finding alternatives. They're either going to LinkedIn, they're leveraging their LinkedIn profiles, or they're thinking about possibly, depends on the market, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, X, Twitter, whatever. There's all these things out there. So it really depends on who your audience is, where you're going to find the people that you want to be engaging with. And Twitter was really a B2B for docs. It was becoming a go-to place, B2B, for community gathering. And there are a lot of people who have developed a lot of docs who have developed profiles on Twitter and had amazing reach. But all that really is now subject to whatever's going to come next. So
Do we think it's going to come back? I mean, so yeah, clearly stats are way down to like 500 million users or something like that. It's probably dropping daily. But then again, Blue Sky is only going up by 1 million a day. No, it's 1 million a day. That adds up.
Sure.
So I guess show of hands, anybody finding Twitter useless these days? Useful? Anybody using it anymore?
Who's on Twitter?
I use it all the time.
Yeah, I know Ed does. Yeah,
I'm using. I think there's fundamentally, if you go on Twitter and you want to make political statements, it's going to suck. If you are on Twitter and you try and stay away from that, which I kind of try to keep out of that kind of muck, because you get attacked from all different sides no matter what.
Ed, how does that apply to healthcare innovation?
Because I would say from a healthcare innovation side. Well,
I mean, if we say the system sucks, there's a reason that guy got shot, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that going to get trolled, flamed, whatever it's called these days?
Oh, I have. When you think about from a healthcare innovation side, I'm having dialogue with people from A16Z. The venture community is huge there. Health innovation folks are there. Doctors are there. Now they're complaining about different things, but if you go on Twitter and all you're complaining about is the political stuff, then it's a whole different situation. And I see engagement kind of stinks there. I will say that as far as and I'd like to know. As far as visibility, I think visibility is lower. You don't get as much looks from an analytics point of view as there were previously. But
there's active throttling. In fact, if you're outside the ideological sphere that is the predominant one now, you're actually suppressed.
You're looking at it's 47% of the leanings. Prior to Elon Musk, it was like 68 to 32 as far as more of a Democratic lean to a what would be considered conservative or Republican, and now it's 48-47, which is kind of what we saw in the election. So it's and I'm pissed off that they took away blocking, because there's people that I didn't want to really fucking see, and now I end up seeing. So that's a problem. But when you have, as far as the engagement and talking to doctors, I mean, there's a very big push going on with people like Dutch Rojas and Real Doc Speaks, and talking about peeling back certificate of need and doctor ownership of hospitals. It's really a very active discussion with some dynamite leaders out there. And if you're not on Twitter, you're not getting that discussion. And I think one of the things that brought me to Twitter was you really have people that are very quick on their feet and know what they're talking about, and you can gauge that, as opposed to someone that spends a lot of time thinking about what they're going to put out on LinkedIn. I still find Twitter invaluable, and I took a look at Blue Sky, and there was it looks interesting, but it still wasn't the community that you have on Twitter.
Well, even with the reductions, it's still much more critical mass. It's a mature network. It's a mature community, and it's rather diversified.
There's a diversity of opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, there's assholes. Don't get me wrong. There's freaking assholes out there.
Right. There's assholes everywhere, right, Ed?
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, actually, one thing I noticed, and you brought up a really good point, that if you do engage in I take it as a rule in my life, I don't talk about politics or religion. I like to keep my life relatively nice. But if you do engage in political discourse in that platform, you will get a lot more political discourse as part of the algorithm.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I've contributed a lot to Blue Sky as a software engineer. It's open source. They have a great team. I have a lot of friends that actually are working there. It's an excellent platform, but it's never going to, and they understand it too. It's never going to be Twitter or X. And I think one of the things that we noticed with Twitter is that, and again, I'm not very active in social media, but just from a technical standpoint, the blocking of bots and the destruction of all these botnets that were basically dominating Twitter and really inflating the statistics are mostly gone at this point.
Yeah.
And they're still there, obviously, but you're not going to see this insane so-called engagement. And it seems like it's more authentic engagement at this point.
And you know what? It's worth the $8. I mean, or whatever, $11. I mean,
right.
I paid for it, and you know what? The engagement and ability to go ahead and deal with the people that I want to deal with has increased dramatically. So it's
right.
And I guess if you like a platform, you got to pay for it, and doing that definitely helped on my part.
So I don't know if you caught that, Alex. We're just talking about engagement.
I listened to all that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
But I have a question for you, Ed. So you did the Twitter Pro, the $229 a year or whatever it is. I've done that too. So you're saying your engagement stats have gone way up. And how are you tracking that? Through Twitter's analytics, or do you have some other third party?
Well, because there was a time that my analytics, and as was just mentioned, the bot traffic, and prior to the acquisition, there was a lot more bot traffic out there. So I don't know how much of my analytics was really real. And it seemed people are getting to me and responding, and they're the people that I want to be involved in. And as I said, there's a a lot of people get real. If you're going to be excited about, oh my gosh, I've got all these people looking at my shit, you know, probably would have been a little bit happier 2 or 3 years ago than you are now, because those numbers seem to be a little bit puffed up. But as far as ability to interact with folks that are involved in making decisions and forming opinions, there's no question that you know, and it's not an echo chamber. People, I've had people, you know, come after me for saying one thing and thinking, you know, that you know, I'm too much on one side of an issue. Maybe you know, that you know, doc-owned hospitals.
Ed,
Okay, go ahead.
can I interrupt you? Sorry.
You know, I'm not drinking
I
water from a fire
want to keep
hose.
this tight.
Yeah.
So I don't think you answered my question. And incidentally, since we're a data centric kind of bunch of people, if anybody wants to share a screen and show stats, be welcome. I'm sure Greg probably has enabled that or can enable that. But so how are you calculating your engagement? Just ad hoc, or do you actually have numbers?
Yeah, I've used Twitter analytics, and
Okay, so you're using the core.
you know,
the
I'm
ones that
using
come-
what they have. You know,
Are you
I've
using?
Yeah.
Are you using their? So I used to love TweetDeck because you can
Yep.
follow hashtags, and people are still using hashtags, right? I know it's a dumb
absolutely.
question.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what are the most useful hashtags for yours? Like, you know, PI law, or just find a lawyer, or
Oh the hashtag for legal is I use the hashtag legal tech, and I think it's also Twitter, X, whatever, is when there's conventions going on, like recently the RSNA 24 convention for the radiology convention. Lots of posts there coming out, and updated information. Those hashtags are being used. You know, I think I agree. You know what Simpler was doing, and that's a lot less than where we're at right now. I mean, that's definitely been diminished. But you know, for conferences, there's nothing. I'm following along. I don't think anything's better than what we have right now with the X platform.
hey, there we go. Thanks. Yeah. So in healthcare, you know, our go-to back in the day was this.
Yep.
Yep, Simpler.
2 billion. Look
Simpler.
at that. Look at that. Yeah. It's simpler.
Well, is this being kept up to date? So let's say we want to look for diabetes tech or something, right? Or diseases, Alzheimer's.
Is
You
this
can still-
live now, Alex?
Yeah, this is live.
Okay.
So if you jump on what I forget who said, maybe Greg, about RSNA, like what does RSNA look like? Is it all up to date?
have a look.
It's looking the far right. It should show a
Yeah,
trending
RSNA
column.
24. Yeah.
Yeah, it should show
Go
a
ahead,
It's the
trend.
sorry.
#1 hashtag on
Right,
conferences.
right there. It's number 1. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. So that's
And Ash, Astro, right? Yeah. Who's
The mouse, you're welcome to influencers. But yeah, this used to all be populated real time. I don't know if this is just my internet connection being spotty.
Well, the RSNA's over right now.
yeah, but
Yeah, but it should
it's
still-
accrual. This is
No, this is what we used
yeah,
to
there
have
you
to
go.
for.
There's
We just had to.
Yeah.
Where's Rasu? Rasu's usually in there. Okay, yeah,
He's got a lot of things on his plate these days.
it's
But
good to know. I
Speech.
didn't even know Simpler was still active since they were acquired.
okay. Now, I mean, so you're saying 2 billion impressions, right? So back in the day, you know, that's actually higher than it used to be. So even though it's down, I think it's much higher than it was when we started. There's a little bit of insecurity whether or not it's being, you know, owned by Musk or being used to figure out shit. But
Mhm.
I think the best practice there is to avoid to use Simpler. And if I'll drop that hashtag here,
So-
or that
Are these hashtags only for X or Twitter?
good
The
question.
stats.
Well, they do
sure.
tend to bleed over into other things. The
TikTok,
stats are only
I
going to
can
be for
only
Twitter.
imagine like TikTok, or I mean, I hate to,
No, it's Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right, but the hashtags are used cross-platform.
universally
And-
across platforms.
and
But
I
this is
suspect-
aggregating Twitter.
Only
Okay,
Twitter.
just
But I
Twitter, right?
suspect there are tools for cross-platform aggregation because it's pretty easy to do.
Probably.
You know, But I'm very happy that Simpler still has this healthcare hashtag project, because whenever we had a project or whatever, we would tell the teams to go find their hashtags and go tweet it out, and then we'd keep track of if they did it or not. And that's what would drive the traffic. I mean, it's one of the secret sauce. Okay, so Twitter still on the possibilities. Use Pro. Don't get political. If it does get political, wash it. Whatever. Do whatever you can.
Well, wait, Alex. Let's talk about the feasibility of that. If you're going to talk health reform, you're going to talk health policy, and if you're going to talk policy, you're going to talk politics. You can't separate them.
Right. So maybe it's not a great place to talk about policy unless that is your goal. Remember, the more engagement you get, the more attention you get.
Absolutely.
So I would say if that is your goal and you want to change policy and change the way people think, then absolutely talk about it, but maybe not talk about it from your company, just talk about, from your personal. So I have Alex Be Fair and I've got Medstartr. So if I'm going to be all political about shit, I probably won't do it from the Medstartr hashtag. I'll do it from the Alex Be Fair hashtag, or maybe not hashtag, username, or maybe I'll use a different one, not, Joe Schmo, but, something that is about, hey, let's talk about whatever the topic is, because you can make a new ID pretty easily.
Alex, I wanted to maybe piggyback on that. That's been one of my biggest problems in my entire career. I would say it's like that I've always been like married to my startup or my company, whatever I'm working on. I've never built, I hate to say this word, but like a personal brand. And it's something that I really was hoping to maybe touch points on that here today, if possible, because it's something that's so critical for me at this point. I've invested so much time into healthcare, know everybody at this point. I mean, not everybody, I see you guys, but I know the whole circle, the usual suspects.
It's a great point, David.
And it's something that I think, a lot of people that don't do much and are so good with social media are just like front and center. Everybody sees their shit, and people that are actually, heads down, building shit, doing really, really important stuff tend to not really, do that. So
but we also
finding some kind of process and all that, yeah.
We also all have our creative side and our personal side. So if you read my poetry, only 10% of it is about healthcare. The rest is like crazy.
That's so cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And music and all these other things, my stupid personal life. But I think actually we have a real expert on this topic here. And I don't know if she's still with us. Sabrina, are you here? And I think what I want you to talk about, Sabrina, maybe is like setting your goals and understanding what your goal is when using social media. And then as David's talking about, can you think about that a little bit? Because I know that you've thought about this a lot.
Yeah. So, personal brand is always, I think I do a lot of research behind that. It's always about that identity, right? Like who we are, what's the personality behind it, what are we stand for, what we stand against. So a lot of time to me, a personal brand is whatever you're creating has to go back to that central theme, and like what they're saying, whether it's a hashtag, whether whatever you're using, use something unique toward you. But there's also a time commitment to everything, right? Like what are we hoping to gain from the engagement, from the post? Is it really the likes and the comments? What is that going to give us? Is that simply popularity, or is it going to lead to a specific call to action? Is driving a campaign that I have, then I actually have people registering, or I'm just having people, it's like, oh, that sounds great, but then it doesn't lead to a result. So for me, in the sense of, I start with what do I want that personal brand to represent? And one of the exercise we always do is borrow the most popular right core, which means borrow superhero, right? Why are we so engaged with Marvels whenever they come out with a movie and people jump on it? There's some thing about those superhero that entice with us, and then it's like, what am I actually doing? Is that really meaningful for me to be on Twitter and be very active, be engaging with everyone? Or my place is LinkedIn, where I have this pace that I can schedule. I have room where I can then be active on engaging with other people in the time frame that I can be, and doesn't feel pressured. So I think that perhaps is what Alex is saying, is like, what is my goal in creating this brand, and perhaps he's pivoting, right? Like Joe was saying, every 18 years he pivot. And so if we pivot, and for me, that's why I did a TED Talk, right? Like, so every single thing has a specific reason why I'm going for it. And then once that TED Talk is out, now I leverage that for a new podcast series for funding her future, and connect with new VC firms that can potentially become partners, right? So everything has a purpose into what I'm doing, and then that got repurposed across different platforms.
That's exactly what I was hoping you would talk about and bring new thoughts. So here's my interpretation of that. You have a mission. Everything is, if it doesn't serve that mission, don't do it. Your personal brand is to be the superhero for that brand, right?
Love it. Yeah.
Clark Kent and Superman are, all about, being square and good and normal, right? And his goal is to save the world, right? And do nice things, so he's a nice guy. Lex Luthor, just the opposite. And yes, I know some of us look like him, especially if I do this. but his brand is I'm a dick, and he does dickish things. So I see what you're saying. That there's a happy medium, but you still are going to be part of the brand. And I, of course, have always had that problem myself with Alex Be Fair, in Medstartr, and I made a conscious effort to try to separate the two brands away from each other. But I know that I am essential to it, right? And the same thing with Serena Runbeck and Pulse Point and David and whatever your next iteration is, or your last iteration, et cetera, et cetera. And you too, Michael, with your Planetary Health, et cetera.
I think if I could just say one thing about sort of characters and brands, right? So when a superhero goes off brand, right, they do something that's not on brand. So like think about I guess Spider-Man and the Venom whole thread, right? When Spider-Man does something that's not Spider-Man-ish, it really like jumps out at you. And so like being able to see yourself from the outside in that perspective is, I think, really interesting.
Kind of brings you to the hero's journey and Joseph Campbell a lot. That whole arc.
Yeah, no, it's true. And so I guess that's the thing, be consistent, right? So but then again, what if your consistent message, like, so in my case, I do, kind of crazy things sometimes, right? How does that help me if somebody's going to be trusting me with, $20 million from their, pension fund or whatever? It doesn't. So you edit out the things in your brand.
I think you can be on brand and still be a little quirky sometimes. You've got we're not all going to be puritanical about
Right.
things, and that's part of why people would want to do business with you. Frankly, is because you're not specifically
there are the inspirational elements, right? So doing crazy things, reading healthcare related poetry, whatever, on stage, wearing walking gallery jackets, these things are all on brand.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if I'm on stage at a club, with two girls singing "Get Your Freak On" a sex couch, then that probably is not going to be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also,
you might have a point.
I will not say whether or not that is.
I see your point, Ed, though.
There may be some people that I would say in this day and age, you know what, it's it'll be like, at least we know he has a way to take his frustrations out and be stress free sometimes. But
hey, one of them was a doctor. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
If that actually happened.
So Alex, and one of the things that like takeaway about that, my first time raising money in healthcare, well, not it was my first like pitch deck that I sent out, but we were talking to, I'm not going to say which fund, and I had on one of my slides, my second slide, addiction care is fucked, but it had a little asterisk on it. It didn't say fucked. And she's like, can you please edit that, because I don't think it's going to fly well with our partners. And so I sent it back with a big fat ass red fucked spelled out. And I told her, we probably will not get along. So I don't think this is going to be I don't think we should proceed. If you can't deal with me saying fuck on a pitch deck, I don't think there's a good match. So maybe that authenticity is important, right? That we kind of stay authentic to who we are. And it's actually going to attract the right people to us, which then we ended up having amazing investors, and that VC firm is no longer around. So it's all good.
I mean, so this did come back to bite me this summer. So one of my current investors wanted to put a bunch more money into the next fund. And what he said to another one of the investors, who I grew up with, he's a good friend, he said, well, we've always known that, Alex is like, eccentric, and really smart, and he created this thing, but will he actually, can we control him? Will he actually listen to us? So I met with them and hung out with them, and we talked and drank in the park, actually. But so yeah, it does create questions. Can you, are you a loose cannon that's going to be uncontrollable?
That may be an investor that you don't want involved in your business. Then I mean, it's a two-way street.
I echo that.
It's a two-way street, and you know what? If you're going to have somebody that's going to want to change who you are, then guess what? Get the hell out of here.
No, that wasn't it. It's more like, will he listen to advice? Which I do. I mean, I think I listen to a crowd of people.
Yeah.
I don't trust myself to make these judgments. When I trust myself, 50% of the time, the companies don't work out. When I trust everybody else, 80%. It's very clear math.
Right. And then that brings up the point, like I always say, human capital is outbeat any strategy in business, right? And then that's what Alex's point of who is in your circle that you can have that instant connection and understanding. And for what David said, well, I want to say the word fuck. And then who's in that same mindset for me to still be me and still work well, because we are able to tap into each other's expertise and and balance, right? Creating harmony in what it could be. And sometimes that's the work that we have to be able to do.
That's 100%. Along that line, it's actually the addiction thing kind of just made me think about something. One of a post that I put out. This is probably about 4 years ago, and it was regarding gamification and suicide. Because I put this post out and it was such a sensitive area, I probably lost at the time it was close to like a couple hundred users because I put a post out that happened to mention suicide. And it's at first I was like concerned about my whether or not I was sensitive, which I thought I was. I was helping promote somebody else that I thought was doing some good things in that area, but because they felt the topic was something of concern, so I do think you may have there could be a fine line, and and like I said, and frankly, some of the people that ended up leaving me after that post, I really don't miss them.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that the media matters? Oh, sorry, Alex, I cut you off. Just a super quick question, that the media matters, because in text, you have a super small Twitter text, right? Versus, let's say you're posting my short videos about yourself and about your thoughts or whatever, and you can actually communicate a much more complete idea to your audience. Do you think the medium or having that balance of mediums is important?
So that's an excellent point, David. Let's get to that. But first, Greg, are you having AI automatically summarize this conversation?
I will be able to generate a transcript. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, because it's an option in Zoom. I don't know how good it is, but
no, it's recording, and I can run it through AI.
Yeah. Okay. So, but to summarize and to sort of package this, what I would say is figure out what your goal is, figure out how your brand serves it, and write your superhero story. Joe Desidri, sorry, I can't pronounce your last name now.
Joe D works, not a problem.
Joe D represents this. Joe D represents this, right? And what you represent should match what your goals are. And all your messaging should be sort of packaged around that. Now, David brings up an excellent next point, which I think we should discuss a little bit. The medium is the message, right? Marshall McLuhan, right? And the medium now is there are a lot of options, right? If you want to find new people to get on their FYP page, use TikTok if you want. And the same thing, I guess, to some extent exists in Facebook and Instagram, but I think TikTok is probably the most new user adoption if you do things that are provocative and interesting and visually pleasing and short. Twitter, if you want to have what I used to think of as the largest cocktail party in the world, where you only have to talk to the people you want to talk to. And you can invite them in with hashtags, right? Threads I have not used much, so we can talk about that. Long format, I think LinkedIn, certainly for business, makes the most sense. But then again, there's also the option of setting up a page on Substack, Medium, any of these things, going on Reddit, Quora even, I think, is still being used quite a bit. So for long form, what do you guys think, is good? Not including podcasts and things like that, because that's a whole different discussion.
Well, I use Substack as one. That has a network effect. I think that's and their product is really good. I actually put my podcast on that as well as Spotify. And so I think the challenge with social media is exactly what you're saying. There's so many formats. You could be amazing on TikTok and suck on LinkedIn, or vice versa. And I think I think Sabrina's right with having a goal and branding, but on the other hand, I think you have to also, the other thing is that I think having curiosity and being, and like trying to have fun with it and exploring it, because no one's figured this out. I mean, as much as, every one of us and each of us has expertise, and my Twitter, I have really very little on that. And the moment Elon took over it, gosh, it just died. My account died. It was very little, but now I find Twitter a very helpful thing if you want to watch videos that you would watch as well as on YouTube. So I'm literally consuming X for stuff that I would is just as much on YouTube. So anyway, I think
Mike,
the only thing
not to be a dick about it, but I pulled up your Substack page, and I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yep.
But how are you measuring engagement? So I see 231 subscribers, but I'm not seeing a lot of hearts on this stuff. I mean, how do you know? Are people watching the videos? Are they finding it through Substack? How does
Oh my God, you interviewed their name.
This is the thing. This is what I'm saying is, like, I think in the end, what's your goal? And so if you look at that, there really isn't a lot of engagement on that, right? With Substack. I mean, that's where I'm putting it. I'm having across. Sorry.
So when I hit the subscribe button, it hit me with a paywall, $8 to whatever, to
but you
subscribe.
can do it for free.
You can say continue without paying. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it without. That's how they make money. So the problem is every platform has their own thing. So I think you can take that off, easily.
Yeah,
but
if anybody needs an instruction on that, you just hit subscribe and then hit the back button, and you can see I'm subscribed, even though I didn't pay anything. So there's a how-to for you.
Yeah.
But no, so if the goal is to get a wider audience, right? And I think that's what we're all looking for, is amplification, finding our people, finding our tribe, our crowd, or what have you, selling, getting support for our individual projects, missions, whatever, rocket fuel of sorts, right? So, but I don't see Substack as serving those missions for you. But nonetheless, you say it's a great platform.
I'm using Substack and YouTube to hold my stuff, and so you're right with the engagement, and so LinkedIn, I have 31,000 followers. Okay. And so,
holy crap! When I met you probably had like less than 1,000, maybe 5,000.
No, I had but I'm saying, so every one of these platforms, there's different algorithms. They work differently. So I am really, I'm not the best one to talk about when it comes to analytics. And a lot of these, I'm just continuing trying to produce a show, podcast, and so there's different goals. My goal is to keep on going and doing it, and not, if I looked at analytics, each thing, I would be stuck on analytics. And so that's not my goal. So it's really housing my stuff. And I don't think many people watch these podcasts either. People talk about downloads. I hate to say it. I think a lot of it's social anyway, and I feel bad because I'm on a recorded thing, but I think a lot of it's social proof. I think my thought is a lot of this is social proof and validation and the network effect, and they serve other purposes, and that's for another thing. But I'll stop at that. But yeah, it's not. If I was in business to do that through the analytics, I'd be out of business. So anyway.
Yeah, Mike, you're 100% right. Just real quick. I mean, like Startup Health, I see them pop videos up on YouTube and things of that nature. There's videos they have up that have been there for 2 days with 0 views. You know, and what you're doing, and I actually, just because someone laughed at me that I was still on Medium, I started up a couple of weeks ago. You know, moving into Substack, and you're right. It's a holding place, and what you do and how you market that across different platforms is really up to you. And it's your point about how you're watching videos on Twitter. That's where I'm getting most of my news now off of Twitter. You know, and seeing newscasts faster on Twitter than it's been that is posted on YouTube.
And I'll just say, Alex, and I'll stop because I really started taking too much time of your time, everyone's. And I do this really, I'm not a social media person. I'm doing this out of my own intrinsic desire. Like the podcasting is such a love affair that I learned, like I should be paying people to come on my show. I mean, that's really the thing that's doing it. So literally I'm in it to win it, you know, and if I can just keep on going, and it's the network effect. I'd rather have every day I'm getting a few more subscribers, and you know, some of them are, most of them are real, but I'm going to tell you the worst thing that people pay. You can go right now and pay for TikTok, pay for Instagram. I see a guy out of nowhere in March. He has very few followers. And the next thing I know, he's getting 5,000 likes, 5,000 likes on Instagram. He's paying. So I'm the reality is all these things we're talking about can be totally click farmed out. And so I'll stop there.
That's a super good point, Mike. And I love that you said that it's coming from your heart. That's the same kind of attitude I'm taking towards like whatever I'm going to end up doing with social media. Because, you know, I truly believe and I really care about addiction. I care about mental health, and I've lived it. I've been homeless. You know, I've been there. So there's a lot that goes into the passion side. But you're right about the manipulation of stats. And do you guys think that, I mean, maybe I know it sounds horrible and we're being recorded, but does it matter to maybe kind of kick things off that way so that you know, a user comes and sees, oh, wow, this has like 50 likes. I'm going to watch this versus it doesn't have anything. I love the idea of keeping it really tight and authentic, but do you guys think that it helps in the beginning, or is that just kind of like shooting yourself in the foot and probably a big no-no?
There's people out there that are
sorry to ask the dark side questions.
No, that's a great. I think there's going to always be folks that, you know, say, "Wow, you know, there's a million flies on poop. You know, poop must be good. You know, and you know, there's folks out there that, you know, say dynamite things and may not be noticed yet. And you know, I'm like, geez, I'm going to quote that. I mean, it depends on the type of person you are. If you like smart, snarky stuff, then you know, I'm gonna be interested in that as well. And you know, I think you know, the point is quality is better than quantity all the time.
Does anyone know how long Joe Rogan went before he made $1 on his podcast?
Oh my God, I know that.
Was it 9 years or something crazy?
Years and years and years. And he was kind of like you. He just did it out of passion,
out of love.
He didn't give a fuck. It was not at all like a career move, you know.
So well, I knew that
because the problem is if we do what people say, like if you listen to I think that's the problem. Like I think there is something to be said about authenticity, building your, you know. But anyway, yeah. I'll stop at that because I got to go because I got to take my daughter to figure skating practice. I apologize.
Nice.
This has been great. I really appreciate it. You know, I appreciate it, Alex.
Pleasure to meet you, man.
Michael.
Have fun, Mike.
Well, thanks for coming, Mike. So, and you can listen to the rest of this later because there will be things relevant to this because I think we're going to keep talking about the use of podcasts, including maybe something like this. So is this format good? Getting a bunch of really smart people together. We're interested in healthcare innovation, talking about different topics in innovation. We did this on Clubhouse and it works really well and gathered a lot of audience. Millions of people probably saw them. The reels on that, but 18,000 people joined, right? So, and a lot of the amazing people here, became, leaders in the community. And that's all we are as a community. Yes, we have other things that all of us are doing. And this is sort of a means to the end, but this is also sort of our, I don't want to say echo chamber, like a place where we bounce ideas around and come up with plans that we can work on together. So I don't know, you guys want to continue talking about podcasts and what makes a good podcast? Because that obviously is a relevant topic here. Or should we stick more to the social media tips, tools, and tricks? I mean, this is one of them. And it's
Yeah.
and
I kind of
it's
love it. We're
actually
kind
an
of going
extension of
like progressively going to longer format here in the conversation. It's kind of awesome.
exactly. Podcasting is the long format, and it's engaging. People listen to it. It's going up all the time. It's not that easy to monetize, but you can see. I mean, look, top. I don't know if you guys see my screen. I think you can. Joe Rogan Experience. Call Her Daddy. Which I mean, I've listened to it. It's funny. It's interesting. A little sexy. News. Crime Junkie, more news. Tucker Carlson. Okay, I don't know what the Huberman Lab is. Anybody ever heard of that one?
Oh,
Neuroscience guy
Yeah.
out of Stanford. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were joking. That's pretty good.
So you're saying that's the first real medical podcast that's on this list, and I've not
Correct.
listened to it.
where's Peter Thiel on that?
Yeah, right. Peter Thiel.
I meant Peter Attia, the
Oh,
doctor.
Yeah, no. I know. Okay, so Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. That's not healthcare, I guess. It's probably all sorts of stuff. Smosh reads Reddit stories. Sean Ryan show. If any of these are healthcare,
Sure.
please advise. I don't know any of them that are Kill Tony. Okay, so be provocative, be conversational. Have a video version. I mean, do you think the Joe Rogan Experience would have been as popular if they didn't have a video version?
that kind of goes back to the Howard Stern days, the sort of cinema verite inside the studio. It was a radio show, but they had the simulcast, of the in-studio action. It
Well,
could
also
be,
the Nelf.
huh?
Right. Well, the Nelf boys, Steve will do it, those guys. I happen to have one of my partners, it's his nephew. So I've been watching them for a long time. But it's 14-year-old potty humor. It's funny, it's stupid, they're very generous. They got a lot of shtick.
Yeah.
Well,
look, Alex, let's kind of bring it back to where I think we were kind of initially exploring, which is the idea is, can we create a Joe Rogan Experience equivalent for health innovation, right? Health transformation. Is there anyone curating that at scale yet? In the Startup Health, a great example. If Startup Health, and trust me, they make a huge investment in their digital media outreach.
100%.
Oh, Jesus. I mean,
I know from the inside that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And then you look at the views, the engagement, it's like, really? That's the return on your investment? It's pretty sad.
0.
Yeah. So my point is, it's wide open. It's wide open. And now, if anything, after this guy got shot down in cold blood, a health plan executive, and I don't celebrate it, but I simply say, look deeper. There's something more there that we really need to take consideration of, which is our healthcare system is failing. It's failing miserably. And it's going to push people over the edge. There's no question about it. So,
and it's failing the people, which is the most critical part of it, right? It's failing the common person.
Totally.
That is the masses of the US, right?
Totally.
Okay. Yeah. So I think we have one show that we should be doing. And that would be the one that I would like to host with any or all of you. And I've done that with a bunch of you guys already. I should probably avoid putting my head in that circle. is healthcare at the tipping point, which, as you guys know, I've been talking about lately. We'll get Gladwell on the show or something like that. But I think that we can debate these topics endlessly, right? And we can pick a topic every week and say, blah, blah, blah. And, let me be me, right? Being annoying, right? Be Roland, being the Laurel to my Hardy, or whichever one is the sane one.
You know what I'm thinking, Alex? It might be helpful. I can try to help you get Gabor Mate. He's a good friend and he's a very well-known person. He can probably kick it off because he's a medical doctor. So he was my TEDx coach. And like even that, I did a TEDx. I didn't even talk about it. That's how bad I am with publicizing my shit. But one of the thoughts that I was thinking about this is like I remember my boy Jason Miller from LinkedIn. He wrote this. He used to talk a lot in conference about slicing the turkey. So basically, you have this big rock that you can then carve out. So maybe doing these super long format things are super valuable because then you have a ton of content to basically spit out into LinkedIn, into Twitter, potentially maybe even like spin out other very specific, let's say, white papers or things like that can come out of it. I think there's a lot of potential. I don't know if Sabrina, you do that at all with what you do, but that can be very interesting for this long format things.
Yeah, that's what our strategy is. We take those interview, take the transcription, become a LinkedIn newsletter, and then turn into a longer format blog onto the webpage, and then use the videos, chop into smaller shorts, and that go into YouTube. Nice. And then I have my SEO guide for YouTube to add the right keywords, and then you get organic views. And then I repurpose the video into YouTube or LinkedIn Live. So all of those, so cool. LinkedIn, to be honest, LinkedIn Live does not going to get you that much, right? Because LinkedIn is like suppressing it, but they're really pushing for all the newsletter things. And they like when it's a personal newsletter than a company writing a newsletter. So everybody automatically gets subscribed suggestion when you become a connection. You don't even have to send that. So I think when I launched my newsletter, I don't even know, like I think middle of last year, within 2 months, like there were 1,000 people subscribed without me having to do that work, right? So that's the benefit of having those things, because the LinkedIn wants long form content. And then you can, because that got automatically sent to their personal email as well. So whatever initiative you have that technically gave you the platform to share additional things besides this weekly or however you wanted to do it. And then, of course, then we create quote cards from our speakers, from myself. And then that, if you're using LinkedIn, you do the carousel one, the PDF, that also has good output as well. And then it's a great way for me to attach, right? Tag these speakers, because most speakers don't remember to share at all. And I can create all those amazing things. I give them a whole freaking package. And some of my startups like, oh my God, I used to pay for these things. And then, right. And then versus some other people just don't even remember to do it. But if you tag them, now you have all this stuff, then people tend to reshare. So I agree with you. I like that. What do we call, like engine, right? Visibility engine, which is one long form content and repurpose into multiple things into the platform that you actually wanted to get additional awareness. But again, I only stay on LinkedIn and YouTube, so I don't really know anything else.
And don't feel bad about the speaker thing. I keynoted 2 big tech conferences last year and I didn't ever share about it. And they were just like on my ass to the last day of the keynote. And I finally posted like one thing. So yeah, speakers tend to not do their share of the work, even though you guys are doing so much work.
Well, clearly we need to do a whole episode just on Sabrina's methodologies, because it's working for you. Although
super cool.
I don't see stats here, but
the link. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm listening.
Yeah, the LinkedIn. I follow a group that's kind of exploded on LinkedIn from like a couple of listeners once a week. It's in the legal tech area, and now they've got once a week about 400 folks And the ability to network with people that are in the conference, or listening to the conference, or listening to the podcast, or the program, is tremendous, because that's where, instead of being on a Zoom call and copying names and trying to connect with them on LinkedIn, you're already in LinkedIn. Which I found to be very helpful and interesting. I just to circle back, the Becker's Health podcast seems to be very high on the healthcare podcast list, and believe it or not, who shows up also? Colin Hung and John Lynn.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yep. But other than that, there's a bunch of society-related podcasts that I was just looking at.
And drop the links, because clearly I didn't find them before.
So listen,
Becker's Health.
one thing I would recommend, regardless of whatever the platform is that we're all engaging with each other. Number one, we're following and we're engaging with each other, because that creates a node of digital interactions. And I would say, what we haven't discussed, it's been great conversation thus far. I'm learning a lot. But what I haven't heard mentioned is Spaces. You talk about Clubhouse. Spaces, I've seen either pre-planned and announced, or just spontaneously opened, generating hundreds, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 people are engaging on a particular topic. I think if someone opened a Spaces conversation right now and started talking about the failing legacy health plan model, under the umbrella of what just happened in New York, there'd be a lot of interest in that. So that's another avenue to consider.
What is Spaces?
Spaces is the Twitter.
I'm sorry. Oh, it's on X. Got it.
It's on X, Twitter. Yeah. It's one to many. It's just like Clubhouse back in the day. And I never.
Oh, right. I
never got
remember.
involved
Yeah.
in Clubhouse. Yeah. Right.
You weren't part of Clubhouse?
I wasn't. No. I know Alex was, but it's
That
like
was our jam.
Joe put in like platform fatigue, man. I got platform fatigue.
That's the first
learning
actual
curve.
social media platform I got engaged on was actually Clubhouse.
I think
Clubhouse is
but I think there's
Super
lots to learn about LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn Live. There's lots to learn. Now, I've been on carrying premium accounts on Blog Talk Radio for the last 10 years. I just got to notice they're shutting down. YouTube is gone big into basically the podcasting domain. Okay, so they're going to be a substitute. So there's a lot of movement out there, and it's hard to say who's going to be the winners. But I think the big names obviously are going to have some legs in the market.
Okay, so clearly we have our work cut out for us. We've got a lot of great ideas that have been discussed today, but we're an hour in, and I think we want to keep this a little tight. So we're going to call this part one. But I think that on our things to do list is we're going to try out Twitter Spaces. We're going to think about formats and engagement. The popular ones are provocative and news related, a little sexy, a little fun, right?